At the Ortigia Academy of Magic, Alto Goldfield is told he must summon and form a contract with a familiar or else be held back a grade by his teacher. He then meets his childhood friend Lilia Kudelfade in the school halls. She laments that this isn't fair and gets angry at the teacher because she believes Alto shouldn't be held back just because of summoning, especially since his scores are perfect in everything else and he has worked so hard to achieve that. Alto appreciates her concern but agrees with the teacher, as most second-year activities require a familiar. Despite failing every summoning spell he tried before, he finds an old book in the school library and performs the spell within, summoning a naked demon girl named Vermeil. She kisses him to drain his mana and says she will serve him out of gratitude for his summoning, which broke her out of imprisonment. She tries to seduce him, but he refuses and makes her wear his sister's dress and shoes that he accidentally brought with him. When he presents her to the class as his familiar, she conceals her horns and tail to pass for a human. The teacher is surprised and tries to argue because humans can't be familiars, but Vermeil shows him the contract familiar mark on her, convincing him to agree. Alto's childhood friend Lilia becomes jealous due to Vermeil's behavior towards Alto and challenges them to a duel. If she wins, Vermeil will stay away from Alto, and if he wins, she will obey one command from him, which flusters Lilia. Lilia's familiar, Sylphid, unleashes a powerful wind attack, but Vermeil effortlessly blocks it while telling Alto to trust her more, then uses magic to make Lilia so aroused that she forfeits. Alto orders Lilia to befriend Vermeil. Later, Vermeil tells Alto that Lilia is in love with him, but he doesn't believe her, considering that he doesn't love her at all. She kisses and drains him again, saying she needs to or else she will disappear. She suggests that boinging will provide more mana and tries to seduce him, but he stops her and says kissing will suffice. The following day, as they make their way to school, everyone seems to be watching them. Alto advises Vermeil to keep a low profile to avoid standing out. Suddenly, a dragon comes charging down the path, but Vermeil swiftly stops it with a flick, sending it flying into the distance. Alto realizes that everyone is staring at Vermeil and scolds her for drawing attention to herself. The headmaster welcomes the students to their second year, and Alto attends various classes. Lilia is still envious of how Vermeil clings to Alto after school. Lilia invites herself to walk home with Alto and Vermeil to keep an eye on them. They are then confronted by two students, the dragon's owner and his older brother, Rex. Seeking revenge on Vermeil, they are distracted, allowing Alto to trap them in a crystal prison. Rex summons his familiar and breaks free. Rex, a fifth-year student, summons a dinosaur. He sends his family to attack, but Vermeil supercharges Alto's mana, enabling him to unleash a powerful crystal magic attack and defeat Rex. Upon returning home, Vermeil asks Alto about his aspirations in life. He declines her offer to make him wealthy, expressing his desire to become a great mage. He explains the different ranks of mages in this world and his goal to become a platinum-ranked mage. Vermeil approves of his dream and promises to support him in achieving it. The next day, they meet their friends Marx and Cheryl, with Marx being impressed by Alto's victory over a fifth-year student. Their teacher informs them that the headmaster wants to see them. The headmaster reveals that one of them will be chosen as the student representative through a special trial, retrieving a fairy flower from the forest. Marx summons his familiar, a beetle named Francois, and rushes off. Marx encounters a man-eating plant, and Cheryl stays behind to assist him. The rest of the group keeps searching for the flower and eventually spots it atop a mountain. However, there's a problem. A sleeping Cerberus guards the entrance. Lilia, who has an invisibility potion, decides to use it to sneak past the Cerberus. Alto expresses concern that the Cerberus might still be able to smell her, but Lilia reassures him that it has a cold, so she should be able to pass undetected. She drinks the potion and becomes invisible, although her clothes remain visible. Lilia panics about having to strip in front of Alto, but she realizes she has no other choice. As Lilia approaches the Cerberus, Alto remembers that it's a competition. Vermeil assures him that she can easily defeat the Cerberus, but asks Alto for more mana. Lilia attempts to sneak past the Cerberus, but unfortunately, not all of its heads are asleep, and she is detected. Alto distracts the Cerberus, instructing Lilia to retrieve the flower while he deals with the charging server. Suddenly, Vermeil appears from above and unleashes her demonic powers, causing a massive explosion. In the chaos, Lilia manages to grab the flower and brings it back to the group. She admits defeat and offers to give the flower to Alto, but her invisibility wears off, leaving her feeling embarrassed. In her embarrassment, she accidentally drops the flower, and it gets blown away, ending up in Cheryl's hands. Cheryl wins the position, and the rest of the group congratulates her. On their journey to school, Vermeil enjoys trying a crepe for the first time. Having been sealed away for centuries, she never had the opportunity to taste modern food. As they walk, the students gaze up at the sky, where a formation of dragons flies overhead. All the students admire the leader of the Dragon Riders, Chris. Curious, Alto asks who they are, and Chris explains that they are the Dragon Riders, the same club that Rex belongs to at school. They meet up with Marx, Cheryl, and Lilia. Marx explains just how incredible Chris is. Aside from being the leader of the Dragon Riders, she is also an executive on the student council and one of the school's 7 gold-ranked students. Alto is amazed by this, as he wishes he could be like the student council president, who is rumored to be close to achieving platinum rank. Vermeil tells him that it's possible while playfully suffocating him. Lilia quickly pushes her away, and the two argue over Alto, as usual. After class, Lilia vents her frustrations about Vermeil to Cheryl in the changing room. She wonders if Vermeil is even human, recalling how she defeated Cerberus with a single hit, something even a gold-ranked mage wouldn't be able to do. Lilia becomes suspicious of Vermeil and swears to expose her. Cheryl picks up on Lilia's feelings for Alto, causing her to panic and become flustered. Cheryl encourages her to confess her feelings to Alto. Meanwhile, in the boys' changing room, Vermeil causes a scene while following Alto. Embarrassed, Alto tries to change, but Lilia becomes jealous of Vermeil because she got a glimpse of Alto changing. Alto tells them they need to keep a low profile to avoid trouble with the student council. Vermeil confidently declares that she will surpass them all and Alto will achieve gold rank in no time. As they continue walking, the student council appears before them. The trio quickly moves out of the way as they pass by, and Chris stares at Vermeil, wondering who she is. Later, Vermeil discreetly enters Alto's shower and once again tries to seduce him. However, Rex gets beaten up by Chris when she discovers that Alto has lost interest in her and is now pursuing Vermeil. Chris feels embarrassed for Rex, as she believes that being associated with the Dragon Riders should be reserved for those who possess true dragon-like qualities, rather than just being familiar with a dinosaur. Chris continues to physically assault Rex and ultimately expels him from the Dragon Riders. Upon hearing that Rex has been sent to the infirmary, Alto visits him, but Rex's brother blames Alto for Rex's expulsion. Alto finally realizes the consequences of his actions. Shortly after, Alto heads to the dueling platform with Vermeil at his side, where they are confronted by Chris. Chris offers Alto the opportunity to back out of the duel, but both Alto and Vermeil are determined to fight. As Chris summons her familiar, her dragon appears, and Alto calls out to Vermeil, who supercharges his mana. Lilia watches in horror as Alto launches a crystal attack, impressing Chris. However, she effortlessly stops it with a single blast of her magic. Chris fires again, and Vermeil is forced to block the attack. Once the flames clear, Vermeil is okay, but has sustained some damage. Undeterred, Chris continues her rapid-fire barrage of fireballs, but Vermeil successfully blocks all of them and drops to the ground. Alto attempts to counterattack with his crystals, but Chris shatters them all. Despite being impressed by Alto's skill, Chris is more fascinated by Vermeil's ability to withstand her attacks head-on. Vermeil grants Alto even more of her power, enabling him to launch a massive barrage of crystals at Chris. The attack lands, resulting in a tremendous explosion. Alto feels relieved, thinking the battle is over, but to his surprise, Chris rises on her dragon and boasts about the superiority of dragons over all other beings. Chris rains fireballs down from above, while Vermeil continues to shield Alto and encourages him to build up his mana. Determined to prove Chris wrong, Vermeil supercharges Alto once again, and he launches another powerful crystal attack. Although Chris shatters it, she underestimates Alto's resourcefulness. Using the shards of the crystal, Vermeil leaps up to Chris before she can react. Alto holds a crystal to Chris's throat, effectively winning the duel. The students cheer for Alto, celebrating his victory, which makes him popular among the ladies, intensifying Lilia's jealousy. Suddenly, Professor Obsidian, one of the teachers, shows up and advises Alto not to underestimate the duels. He commends Alto on his victory and leaves, with all the ladies trailing after him. Curious, Alto inquires if Lilia also has feelings for the professor, but she gets angry at him and beats him up. Meanwhile, Chris meets with Rex and is taken aback to discover that she is handling her own chores. She apologizes to him, but he is shocked to hear those words from her. Rex takes charge of the chores, and the two reconcile. Later that evening, Vermeil attempts to seduce Alto once more, but he insists that one should only kiss someone they truly love. She then shocks Alto by declaring her love for him. The following day, Alto is concerned while Vermeil seems rejuvenated. Alto recalls Vermeil's confession of love and blushes deeply. He seeks out Professor Obsidian and inquires about demons falling in love with humans. Obsidian explains that demons only desire humans for their mana. During dinner, Alto questions Vermeil about her feelings, suspecting she only loves him for his mana. Vermeil reassures him, proving her love by kissing him without draining his mana. She encourages Alto to kiss her, but he struggles to do so. The next day, Alto is content after resolving his emotions towards Vermeil. He apologizes to Professor Obsidian for his odd question about demons, and the professor is pleased to see Alto feeling better. Later, Obsidian meets with a female student, privately, who confesses her love for him. He embraces her, but holds a suspicious syringe. The girl is later found frozen in her room, sparking rumors. Although she is rescued, she remains in a coma. The student council investigates the incident, with Vice President Ryuga Shinuji and Executive Jessica Schwartz discussing it as the third coma-inducing incident. Meanwhile, Alto observes Vermeil as they are tasked with writing a report about their familiars. Vermeil undresses to be measured, while Lilia's familiar secretly watches them. Lilia is furious when her familiar reports what it saw. Lilia decides to use another invisibility potion and a copy of Alto's key. She leaves her clothes with Cheryl and sneaks into the boys' dorm. Lilia manages to unlock Alto's door and enters his room. Just as she starts to panic, Alto walks up to her, but he only grabs a book in his search for the right one. Unaware of Lilia's presence, Alto accidentally touches her, leaving her stunned. Alto finishes his report, listing the things that Vermeil likes, including crepes. However, Vermeil surprises everyone by adding Alto's name to the list. Meanwhile, Chris and her dragon are defeated by a seemingly possessed Rex and his mute dinosaur. The story then flashes back to when Rex first summoned his familiar as an egg. He is overjoyed by its size, and it even catches the attention of a young Chris. They bond over it and eventually become friends. In the present, Alto and Vermeil are at the grocery store. Vermeil is really interested in the sweets, but Alto tells her that they don't have enough money. This makes Vermeil really upset, and she sits on the floor and throws a tantrum. Eventually, Alto gives in and promises to buy her one dessert. Vermeil is so happy and hugs him tightly, even giving him a kiss. This embarrasses Alto, but Vermeil doesn't understand why. She didn't even drain his mana. Suddenly, they are interrupted by Rex's brother, who is in a panic and asks for their help. Chris is still getting beaten up by Rex, so she tries to fight back by shooting a fireball at him. There is a big explosion, but Rex is able to withstand the flames and his body starts to mutate. He summons a pillar of rock that sends Chris flying into the air and steps on her face, taunting her to fight back. Chris begs him to stop. Alto and Vermeil arrive and tell Rex to let her go. Rex throws Chris to the side and decides to get revenge on Alto for beating him before. Alto rushes to Chris and she tells him to run. Rex's power goes out of control, and Vermeil notices something familiar about it. Rex summons his mutated familiar. Alto's hand starts to glow as Vermeil gets ready to fight. However, the student council president, Elena, appears with her sword familiar and delivers multiple slashes on Rex and his dinosaur, knocking them out and destroying their mutation. Elena checks on Chris, but she is disappointed that she lost. Rex tries to get back up, but he is too injured and falls over immediately. Chris rushes over to him as he lies unconscious. Vermeil is still curious about Rex's power, but Elena asks if she knows anything about it, and Vermeil denies knowing anything. The student council is having a meeting to discuss the 5th incident. They suspect that someone is using drugs or black magic on the students. Chris is upset by the report and storms out. Jessica wonders why Chris is so concerned about Rex. She doesn't like it when people mess with her things. Meanwhile, Alto and Lilia are informed about their upcoming exam to bronze rank. Alto is distracted, but Lilia reminds him how important it is. Vermeil tells Alto that she is tired and will go back to the dorm while he studies. She leaves and Alto is worried about her. She's been acting quite differently since their encounter with Rex. Lilia takes the opportunity to be alone with Alto under the guise of studying. As Vermeil walks back to the dorm, she meets Professor Obsidian. They have a brief exchange and he is surprised to see her without Alto. Vermeil accuses him of being behind the incidents. Obsidian pretends not to know what she is talking about, but Vermeil mentions how she can smell low-tier demons on him. She warns him to stop what he's doing and leaves, telling him that it's too much power for a human to handle. Obsidian asks if she will expose him. She doesn't care, but warns him to stay away from Alto. Obsidian realizes what she is, and agrees that his demons are low tier compared to her. Vermeil continues to walk away as a paper doll floats by. Suddenly, Obsidian appears behind her and injects her with his syringe. She pushes him away, but she begins to feel pain, and dark energy starts to release. Obsidian watches sinisterly, hoping to capture her. Meanwhile, Alto and Lilia are studying when Lilia tries to make a move on Alto. Suddenly, Alto feels a sharp pain as his hand begins to glow. There is a huge explosion outside, and Alto realizes Vermeil is in trouble, so he rushes to find her. Everyone around the school notices the surge of dark energy. The sky darkens as Elena hurries to the scene. Suddenly, she stumbles upon a paper doll and cuts it in half. To her surprise, the doll repairs itself and starts speaking. It duplicates rapidly, merging to create a creature that blocks her path, claiming it won't let her through. Elena battles the creature, but it keeps regenerating after each strike. Meanwhile, Vermeil transforms into an unstoppable winged demon. Obsidian watches gleefully and boasts as she gestures with her arm. Vermeil releases a powerful wave of energy, stunning even Obsidian. Alto and Lilia rush in just as Obsidian uses his magic to control Vermeil with a chain around her neck. Alto is shocked to see this, and Obsidian reveals that he was behind the attacks, injecting people with demon essence. Alto gets angry and sends a burst of energy towards Vermeil. She breaks free from the chain and tries to attack Obsidian, but accidentally impales Alto instead. As Alto bleeds, Vermeil has a flashback to when she was sealed away in darkness until Alto found her. She transforms into a more aggressive form and attacks Obsidian, but Alto steps in to calm her down. After healing Alto's wound with a kiss, Obsidian injects himself with a formula and turns into a hideous demon. He plans to absorb Vermeil's power, but she defeats him with a powerful punch. Chris on her dragon helps in the fight, and Vermeil knocks Obsidian down. Alto wakes up, Lilia cries with relief, and the monster Elena was fighting retreats. Vermeil apologizes to Alto for hurting him, but he forgives her, as everything turns out fine. Vermeil sadly confesses that she destroyed Alto's heart, but to heal him, she gave him a demon heart and linked their life forces. If one dies, the other will too. Alto is devastated, knowing she will die with him instead of living forever as a demon. Obsidian is arrested, Rex wakes up from his coma with a sleeping Chris beside him, and all the students wake up. Later, Alto and Vermeil kiss, but Alto's heart now needs Vermeil's mana to function. Alto starts acting cold, and Alto calls her out. She reveals her monster form as her true self, warning him to stay away. Alto kisses her, declaring he's not scared, and they'll be together forever. Vermeil agrees, but Alto runs away embarrassed. Vermeil realizes Alto loves her, becoming flustered. The next day, girls mourn Professor Obsidian's loss, and the boys are depressed. They're feeling down because Vermeil hasn't been showing up for class. Alto informs them that she hasn't been feeling too good lately. Lilia confronts Vermeil about being a demon, but Vermeil apologizes for lying and feels guilty that Alto got hurt because of her. However, Lilia doesn't care about Vermeil being a demon because she knows she's not evil and her feelings for Alto are genuine. Lilia comforts Vermeil and assures her that she trusts Alto to keep her in check if she ever loses control again. Vermeil returns to Alto's room and apologizes once more, but Alto is relieved to see her feeling better, and they make up with a kiss. The next day, Vermeil receives a uniform to wear, but it doesn't fit quite right. Alto panics and feels embarrassed, but he's happy that Vermeil is back to joining him in class. Meanwhile, at a church surrounded by bodies, we meet a powerful witch named Helio and the ex-platinum warlock Lilise. Using a paper doll to communicate, Lilise criticizes Obsidian's failure and calls him a fool. However, one of the priests shows interest in his research and tries to attack, only to be stopped by a centaur familiar. Back at school, all the boys stare at Vermeil's new look and praise Alto for bringing her back to class. Suddenly, the student council interrupts the class and detains Alto and Vermeil. Alto worries that they found out Vermeil is a demon. He asks why they were detained, and Elena apologizes for not being able to help during their fight against Obsidian. They want to know more about the incident, but since Obsidian escaped from prison, they brought Alto and Vermeil in to gather more information. Alto agrees to help, but Elena asks if they are hiding any secrets. They are taken to Play Point, and Alto has no choice but to confess that Vermeil is a demon and their life forces are linked. The revelation shocks them, but Alto defends Vermeil, stating that she is not evil and he is willing to protect her at all costs. Jessica thinks Vermeil is too dangerous, but Elena believes in Alto and decides to help keep his secret. She even invites Alto to become an executive on the student council. Alto believes that Elena just wants to keep an eye on him, but she reminds him of how he defeated Chris in a duel. Despite his suspicions, Alto accepts her offer. When his friends find out about this, they are shocked. Marx is proud of him, and Lilia congratulates him. However, Alto becomes worried now that more people know Vermeil's identity. He wants to become stronger so that he can protect her. Dremel warns Alto to be cautious around the student council, suspecting that Elena might not be human. The next day, Alto attends his first council meeting but accidentally walks in on the girls changing. Jessica freaks out, but Elena blames them for not locking the door. The meeting continues, and Elena shows them a piece of the creature she fought with. Chris tries to examine it, but Elena explains that it contains an advanced magical formula that even a team of gold-level mages couldn't decipher. They conclude that their enemy is at the platinum level. Meanwhile, Lilith and Helio meet with the creature's master, the platinum mage Kohaku. They have been providing her with demon parts for her experiments. Lilith complains about the hassle of obtaining the parts and mentions the trouble he had with the high priest. Kohaku asks if he recruited the high priest, but Lilith reveals that he killed him. Kohaku is annoyed and Lilith leaves. He tells Helio that their next targets are Alto and Vermeil. Alto had a vivid dream last night. In his dream, he saw a young Vermeil crying in a city that was completely destroyed. It was a haunting image that left him feeling unsettled. When he woke up, he was visibly shaken by the dream. He couldn't shake off the feeling of worry as he got ready to study for his upcoming bronze exam. The pressure to pass was weighing heavily upon him, especially because the council, particularly Chris, had been pressuring him. Dremel, his friend, tried to reassure him and ease his worries, but Alto couldn't help but feel the weight of expectations on his shoulders. To help him prepare for the exam, Vermeil, his girlfriend, kissed him, and infused his mana with extra power. It was a sweet gesture that gave him a boost of confidence. The next day, Alto gathered his things for the exam. As he looked at the book that Vermeil had been sealed in, he couldn't help but wonder who had sealed her in the first place. The memory of his dream flashed through his mind, and he felt a sense of urgency to bring the book with him. Lilia, another member of their group, hid the book for Alto as they headed off to the exam. The students are gathered in a hall for their practical exam. There is a large crystal ball with a flame inside. The examiner explained that the test would measure their mana, requiring them to strengthen the flame by pouring their mana into it. While most students found the task simple, Alto suspected there was more to it. The first student attempted, but failed to affect the flame. The next student, accompanied by a fierce bear familiar, also fell short. Then it was Lilia's turn, and she effortlessly demonstrated how it was done. She concentrated on the flame, not the crystal, and successfully made it grow, impressing the examiner. Despite Lilia's success, another student managed to match her performance. Cheryl passed her test, while Marks barely scraped through. Alto was the last to go, accompanied by Vermeil. Alto studied the crystal and realized that supplying mana from behind was more effective. The examiner was impressed by Alto's insight into the true nature of the test, which evaluated a student's ability to comprehend and interpret magical formulas. Encouraged by Vermeil, Alto decided to showcase his skills. He opted for the most challenging position to supply mana, resulting in a massive silver flame. Alto was shocked by the examiner's reaction, but he continued to grow the flame until the crystal cracked and shattered completely. He felt mortified and apologized for breaking the crystal. However, the examiner surprised him by saying that he passed with full marks. Alto celebrated with his friends, and the examiner mentioned how difficult it would have been for even a platinum-level mage to break the crystal. Later, Alto and his friends took a break for lunch, and Alto started to worry about the written exam. Marks revealed his secret weapon, a six-sided pencil, which he claimed helped him get into the academy. Lilia wondered if anyone had ever gotten a perfect score on the exam, and Cheryl revealed that only one person had ever achieved a perfect score in every exam up to the platinum level. Vermeil encouraged Alto, and the group prepared for the exam. Vermeil pulled Alto aside to help replenish his mana, almost making him late. As Alto walked, he encountered the rude student from the other school in the bathroom who complained about Alto showing off during the practical. Suddenly, Lalit appeared behind the rude student, surprising him. The student dismissed Lalit and tried to leave but ended up getting killed as he bled and fell over. Lalit then stole his test ticket to sneak into the exam. Alto rushed to the exam and arrived just in time, but familiars were not allowed in. Silver Mel wished them luck. Alto took his seat, and soon after, Lalit sat beside him and wished him good luck. Vermeil waited outside, bored, overhearing how difficult the test would be, but confident that Alto would do well due to his hard work. As Alto started going through the test, he became distracted when he noticed that Lalit had fallen asleep. He tried to ignore it and focused on the test. The questions this year were much harder than before. Lalit woke up and Alto worried about time running out. Lalit looked at the test and finished super fast, mocking Alto for being slow. They got in trouble for talking, but Lalit didn't care, saying no one would pass. Suddenly, a guard rushed in, reporting a student's body that Lalit supposedly killed. They realized Lalit wasn't a real student. There was an explosion as Lalit summoned a huge stone golem, revealing he was after Alto. The professor tried to fight but got crushed. Alto realized Lalit was working with obsidian. The previous examiner saved the professor from Vermeil's attack. Lalit, recognized as the youngest mage to reach platinum rank, altered his golem to attack. Despite their efforts, the golem withstood all attacks and destroyed the building, grabbing Vermeil. Alto's anger reached its peak, causing his golden mana to radiate around him. He released a powerful attack that obliterated the golem. His power continued to surge as he transformed into a Super Saiyan, vowing to protect Vermeil at any cost. Lalit, filled with excitement, summoned more golems, but Alto effortlessly defeated them, leaving Lilith astonished. Lilith powered up and charged at Alto, but unfortunately he was impaled by Highlight's knight. Alto demanded to know Lilith's intentions with Vermeil, and Lilith revealed his sinister plan to use her demonic power to destroy the world. Despite being thrown to the ground, Alto refused to give up and tried to reach Lilith, only to be stopped by an explosion of energy. Vermeil underwent a transformation into her demonic form to confront Lilith, but he managed to chain her up using his magic, stripping her of her powers and returning her to her human form. Despite being knocked down repeatedly, Alto's determination remained unwavering. Seeing no other option, Lilith decided to finish him off by having his knight unleash a final burst of energy. However, the attack was intercepted by the book that once sealed Vermeil, which levitated and opened up. In that moment, the woman from Alto's dream materialized and introduced herself as the memory of the mage who originally sealed Vermeil. She froze time and transported Alto into Vermeil's memories. Alto discovers himself 550 years in the past and spots a young Vermeil happily playing. The mage explains that Vermeil was raised by a nun alongside other orphans, living together like a family. Despite knowing she was a demon, they didn't mind. However, one day the townspeople discovered Vermeil's true nature and blamed her for a devastating plague. They formed an angry mob and attacked the church. Vermeil's sister urged her to escape, and she almost made it out of town. But overhearing the mob's plan to kill her family, she rushed back only to find them all hanged. Devastated, she was surrounded by the mob. Losing control, she transformed into her demonic form for the first time, killing everyone and reducing the town to ashes, leaving behind a massive crater. Alto was horrified by what he witnessed. The mage explained that this was Vermeil's crime and the reason she was sealed away. Alto found that he could interact with Vermeil and comforted her. She transformed into her adult self and tearfully confessed that her crime could never be undone. However, Alto reassured her that he didn't care and would always stand by her side. They shared a kiss, and Vermeil's chains were broken. As they wake up in the real world, he confesses his love for her, and Vermeil is freed from the binding magic of Lilith. Alto is surprised that Vermeil broke free from Lilith's mythical artifact. Lilith summons another golem and combines it with his knight, declaring that Vermeil's only purpose is to destroy the world. However, Alto tells him to be quiet, saying he doesn't know the real Vermeil. Combining his power with Vermeil, he launches his crystal attack, overpowering the golem's attack and destroying it. Surprised at their strength, Lilith becomes more serious. He prepares his magic but is stopped when Helio appears from a portal, saying she can't maintain the space warp for much longer. Lilith is disappointed but has no choice but to leave. He tells Alto he will be back one day to finish what he started and escapes through the portal. The mage of the beginning appears again, surprising Alto. She calls Vermeil a dear friend and urges Alto to take care of her. She bids farewell and repairs the building before disappearing. Lilia rushes in to Alto, glad he's okay. Later, Alto trains to become stronger so he can protect Vermeil. He practices fencing with Jessica and martial arts with Chris. He loses to them both but aims to improve. At night, Vermeil thanks Alto for accepting her and tells him that she loves him too. Alto is happy and they embrace. In a student council meeting, Elena says that after the recent incident, they must protect the students and work together to stop any attacks. Despite knowing they're up against platinum mages, they all agree. Lilia, Marks, and Cheryl receive their test results and celebrate that they all passed. But when Alto doesn't show up, Lilia jealously suspects he's doing something with Vermeil. The two are openly fooling around with their love for one another and their determination to protect each other very obvious.